Hello again, Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell and Max Barr of Southeastern 16. We're going to preview and predict outcomes on 5 games in this video. They are Auburn at South Carolina, Vanderbilt at Missouri, Florida at Arkansas, Oklahoma at Georgia, and LSU at Ole Miss. In that order, let's start with the first one. Auburn travels to South Carolina. Auburn has just cut through its schedule like a snowy, icy winter storm, leaving devastation in its path. South Carolina, the first 2 games have not been pretty. Max Barr, where do we start with this one?
Yeah, so I hope and pray that this game does not get postponed. I have seen some whispers of it. But early tip here, so you never know. Things could get a little bit weird on the early tip. Just cutting right to the chase. Probably going to be around a minus 15 favorite for Auburn, somewhere in those teens. It'll be, I don't know, out toward 7-8 possessions for Auburn. Looking at the matchup, there's a few things that South Carolina does well that they could lean into in this game. And the first thing is getting to the free throw line. Their free throw rate is 10th in the nation. Okay, and if there's one thing that Auburn does, they do foul a little bit. And we've been hearing about the home whistle. So there is a path where South Carolina can win the free throw battle. Other than that, I don't got much for you. I'll just be honest. That's about it.
Well, you're starting with the weather report, and I hope quickly, we also did not do a great job of this at the beginning, but if you're a Kentucky fan, if you're a Mississippi State fan, if you're a fan of Alabama, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Texas, we have previewed those games in other videos. So if you're looking for that in this one, go find it elsewhere on the channel. Let's make sure to check those out for those 3 games in particular. They're in standalone videos. But weather report, folks, for Columbia, South Carolina on Saturday. So we're supposed to get new ice accumulation of 0.1 to 0.2 of an inch. So 1/10 of an inch there. 0.2 of an inch. You don't play around with ice. But the high on Saturday is going to be 46. So, in my opinion, I don't think this game's going to be played. It just, even if they had to postpone it a couple hours or something maybe, but I can't imagine this thing's getting moved based off of that. But you never know. You never know. Again, we don't predict the weather here. We just predict basketball games. We're equally bad at both. But when you look at Auburn, I think, again, they've been a juggernaut to this point in the season. South Carolina in desperation mode right now, and man, it's a tough place to be because we said it. It's not even just this game. Look at the upcoming schedule: at Vanderbilt, at Oklahoma, home against Florida, home against Mississippi State, at Georgia, home against A&M, at Kentucky, home against Ole Miss, at Florida. Holy cow. That's brutal. And now you're playing what's going to be the number 1 team in the country, or they would be right now. Number 1 in our power rankings, Auburn. It's not a great matchup, I don't think, for the Gamecocks.
Picks.
Well.
Yep, I'm going to go, no question about it. No doubt in my mind, I'm going Auburn here. However, we have seen, if I'm trying to find a way South Carolina can win this game, the only knock that I've had on Auburn a little bit, or I've seen other people say, is they get a little bit comfortable on offense. Since they're so incredible, maybe they take a few long-range threes that, hey, they've been falling all season, but maybe they don't fall on the road. Something like that. They get a little bit too comfortable. It's a game at halftime. That's all I can really piece together. Would be kind of Auburn doing it to themselves. But haven't seen that yet. Tigers here.
Auburn is a 15-point favorite on Ken Pom. We know about how these teams have done. In that case, you've got to look to history to say, is this a bad matchup? Does South Carolina just have Auburn's number? Something like that if you're going to make a compelling case. Here is the bad news. When these 2 teams played last year, it was not pretty. We were in our hometown of Nashville, not Max's, but Blake and I. Auburn won the last time these 2 teams met in the SEC tournament, 86-55. Before that, at a time when South Carolina was just rolling through anybody and everybody, Auburn won that one, 101-61. You go back to the matchups before that, couple years, Auburn won. I think it was pretty lopsided both times. There's nothing here to suggest South Carolina pulls an upset. Give me the Tigers.
I see Chris is realizing he should embrace series history a little bit, huh? What do you think? I'm starting to realize there's something to that, huh? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick Auburn, but I think it is one of those things where probably if you're Bruce Pearl, like, you want to see that focused performance here because this is one of those where, you're a team, you're playing the team that most people think is at the bottom of the SEC, going on the road, early start, as Max said. This is one of those spots where, pique your interest a little bit, but yeah, I mean, none of us are going to pick against Auburn in the spot because we need to see it from South Carolina first, and we've seen it a lot from Auburn so far this season. So give me the Tigers.
Next up, Vanderbilt goes to Missouri, 2:30 on the SEC Network. Big game for both teams, guys. Both of these right now are bubble in, maybe bubble out some places, NCAA tournament teams. Vanderbilt comes off a home loss to Mississippi State after winning on the road against LSU. LSU goes to Columbia, Missouri. Missouri wins that one, I think, by 16. Big game. I think one thing to watch, does Jason Edwards play? And does he play well? He played against Mississippi State, but was nowhere near himself, was in contention for the conference scoring lead before he put up a goose egg. Both teams really deep with experienced guards. Max, start us off here. What are you watching?
Kind of feels like the same team is playing each other in this matchup. Very, very, very similar builds. Slightly different, obviously, but when you look at this game, probably a 2-possession favorite for Missouri. Probably just that home court advantage. Vanderbilt's best thing they do offensively is they do not turn it over. Missouri's best thing they do defensively is they turn you over. It's kind of a matchup of strength on strength. And then you look at when Missouri has the ball, they turning the ball over, taking care of the ball is not the best thing they do. Obviously, the free throws is, but they do a very nice job at taking care of the rock. And Vanderbilt, of course, one of the best at forcing steals. Could be a game. I don't want to do it to them, so hopefully I'm wrong. But I would be hard pressed to find that if anybody goes into this game with no turnovers.
Oh, don't do it,
Oh,
man.
no.
It would be a tough game. It would be a tough game to come out of this one with no turnovers. I want to put that out there.
Wow. Tyler Tanner, the streak has continued so far. Someone asked me on Twitter. They're like, maybe one of those tough games to keep the streak going. I said, yeah, it's going to be put to the test maybe in this game because Missouri will just, again, they're all over you. They're going to defend here. And like you said, Max, there are certainly some similarities between these two teams in terms of, I think, how they would like to play and just, again, some of the things that they do well. So, yeah, it's a fascinating matchup, and I will say this, though. I think this is a bigger game for Missouri than it is Vanderbilt because it's a home game. And so I think the pressure is kind of on Missouri here, even though both these teams enter at, 1-1 on the season. We said you got to hold serve at home. So there's a little pressure on Missouri in this one, I think, heading into it. And, yeah, we'll see how it goes here and how we decide to make our picks, because I think this could wind up being maybe – there's some big games this weekend. You can watch our thoughts on the other ones, but this could wind up being the most entertaining game if I think these two teams kind of get out and get going the way they like to play. So,
Picks, Max Barr.
Devin McLaughlin has done a pretty good job lately of staying out of foul trouble. Did have the 4 against LSU, but other than that, was on a nice streak of just having 30 fouls or fewer. If him or Nickel or Carey, any of those three I know Nickel is kind of playing a stretch 4, not really categorized as a big, but any of the guys that are kind of slated in that 4-5 spot for Vanderbilt, if any of them are in foul trouble, I get worried real quick. And if there's one thing you can almost guarantee Missouri's going to do, it's draw contact. I'm going to lean on the more consistent, I want to say game plan almost. I trust Missouri in this to get that home whistle, to get to the line a million times. And as deep as Vanderbilt is, they're deep in the backcourt rather than the front court. And I think that's going to play a big part. I'll go Mizzou.
Yeah, great points there. I was going to probably pick the home team anyway. And by the way, this is one of the 3 ones that on each team schedule that does have a return trip. So Missouri will be coming to Nashville on March the 1st. I think the additional, Max, I think what you said is big. Vanderbilt just does not have any depth underneath and not big anyway, which is an issue when you're facing Mitchell. And in addition to that, I think the Edwards injury, just there's so much uncertainty. Like even if he plays like he did the other night, he didn't look anything like Jason Edwards. There's just too much to suggest Missouri in this one. That's where I'll go.
Vanderbilt 0-7 all time on the road against Missouri. That's not ideal. But it's kind of been it's been the reverse in this series. Like it's kind of been that way where the home teams have kind of gotten the better of this series. Of course, they didn't start playing regularly until a decade ago, but that's kind of always been sort of the theme here. So you're smart in picking the home team. But man, I can't do this to my client and the Tigers.
Wow.
So the Southeastern 16 kiss of death has come back roaring into effect in conference play so far. We've done this to multiple teams. Missouri fans, if you're new to the channel, you're not going to have any idea what this means. If you're not new to the channel, you know exactly what this means. Vanderbilt.
Oh, this man does not want a pink slip from his client, Max Barr.
Yeah.
0-7, the Commodores all time on the road against the Missouri Tigers. I'm giving you all the stats to tell you where my head's at, but Vanderbilt.
You were going to be 0 for your paycheck from Dennis Gates. So that's
this one's
all right.
It's a great game here. So
it is. All kidding aside, it will be fun. I do think that.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got who? We've got Florida going to Arkansas. Boy, talk about a spot. The mood in Arkansas, Max Barr, not very good last I checked. And the mood in Gainesville, pretty good after you go and just do something to Tennessee that none of us even considered as a possibility.
Yeah, and even with all that taken into consideration, it's going to be a single-digit spread. It's not going to be a double-digit spread. It's going to be within 3 possessions. Ken Palm's got it at 6. So, I mean, it's not going to be – if we're talking blowout categories here and talking expectations, this one's expected to be a few possession ball game here. When you dive into the matchup, you can kind of see why. One of Florida's best traits is their offensive rebounding, the relentless front court rotation. Arkansas does a real nice job at cleaning up the defensive glass. Brazil, Adu, Thero, a little bit of Z. They got some tall guys that clean up the D glass. They don't really offensive board it, but they do clean up the defensive glass. So just right off the bat, if there's one reason why you're like, well, why would this be a few possession spread? Arkansas has not looked the part, and Florida just looked unbeatable. Right off the bat, one of Florida's offensive strengths kind of plays right into one of the strengths of Arkansas.
Yeah, this is one of those games that I just see so many things what I think is in Florida's favor, just on paper, that I mean this one truly like worries me for Arkansas a little bit. And I know Max brought up some good points here, but it's still one of those where I know that Arkansas is kind of desperate. They're in desperation mode, and they really need to win this game because we talked about back-to-back road games next week at LSU, Missouri. But man, when I look at the way Florida has played this season and what they're coming off of, even in the Kentucky game, I said it then, I did not think Florida played that bad. I think they just got beat by a better offensive team that day. I think there's a clear separation between these two teams and the trust that I have in them right now. So may already be spoiling picks, but let's see what we get to on the rest of this matchup. But I don't like this matchup for Arkansas. I just don't like it at all. So
picks,
Chris, what else are you seeing? We got to break down a little bit more. I feel like
okay.
Yeah, that's a big game.
Because when you look at the backcourt, I mean you've got a matchup of Walter Clayton against Boogie Flynn. I mean that's going to be a fantastic matchup. I think Boogie Flan's going to be up for it, but I give the nod to Walter Clayton there pretty handily. I mean, he's been incredible. And one thing that is going to play a part in this, I think, and we're going to start talking about him more and more as the season goes on. He's just going to keep getting brought up. It's Denzel Aberdeen.
Yep.
When Florida's guards need a little bit of a breather, bench support comes in, they're bringing in Denzel, and he's giving them a spark. Arkansas is kind of just rotating Boogie, DJ, and Davis. They don't really have like a spark off the bench. Billy comes in and gives them some defense, not much offense. Florida backcourt, I think, where I was talking about how the front court, Arkansas has got some size here. I think the backcourt is going to be won pretty handily by the Gators.
All right. So if that's the case, which front court do you trust more?
Arkansas, I mean, are they healthy?
Trust Florida's more.
Have you had Brazil and Adu at full strength and playing anywhere near their capability all year?
I think in any scenario, I still would probably trust Florida's more, just because.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been the theme. Like everybody, I said this in my area. I'm like, Florida has one of the best guard groups in the country. They have one of the best and most underrated front courts in the SEC. So it's like, but you could also say they're one of the most underrated front courts in the country with the way these guys are playing right now. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? If we think Florida's got the advantage in the backcourt, if we think Florida's got the advantage in the front court, where is that edge for Arkansas in this matchup? Based on what we've seen from Arkansas against good teams this season, where is that advantage?
Home court.
Which they just lost at home by 7 to Ole Miss.
Poke a hole in that theory. There you go.
No, but I mean, that's the point. Like, I'm saying this is such a big game for Arkansas. And I know that the Arkansas fans will think, hey, we're just down. But, like, I'm just going off what I've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 4 of the 5 biggest games they played this season, we've said, like, they've struggled a bit. And so, do I trust John Calipari offensively to match what I think Todd Golden and company are going to do offensively? Not right now, So I'm trying to find what are those statistical areas that just jump out at me that makes me think that, like, all right, this is that game where Arkansas is going to turn the corner, right? If we're saying this is the one where they don't fall to 0-3, this is the kind of matchup that's great. This gives them that chance to get that elusive win, right? I'm trying, but like I'm not seeing that area right now, other than, as you said, Max, they're playing in their own building, which does mean something, and sometimes the numbers just even out, right? They're 0-2. It's a must-win type scenario. And there's also the third aspect of Florida coming off of an emotional high, having to hit the road to play a team that really, 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 really needs this one. But all those are what? Those are like the outside actual basketball things. They're not like the actual on-court stuff. So, yes, Arkansas is very talented, but like I've not seen the chemistry just yet come together. Maybe this is that game where it happens, but I don't know, guys. I'm trying to find something here.
Picks?
I know where I'm heading. I'll go last.
Okay.
Though. Maybe I'm going to surprise you all and pick Arkansas.
These teams played one time last year. It was at Florida. Florida won 90-68. They out-rebounded Arkansas by 17. So if that is the case, then this thing will be over quite quickly. But yeah, Blake, you nailed it. Maybe they defend the rim real well. They do have a nice block rate. And maybe the threes aren't falling on the road, something like that. But it's going to take a lot. And I think they do a lot. Give me Arkansas. Give me Arkansas.
Wow.
Yep. Arkansas shocks the public. The public is going to be all over Florida -6.5. You're going to see a 95% public split. Florida just beat Tennessee by 30. How the heck could they lose to Arkansas? College basketball. That is how Arkansas shocks the conference and picks up a home win.
I swear I was going to pick Arkansas for the they are
Yes!
desperate.
Join me.
They are more talented than what we've seen, and they are due. They do this every year. And heard Blake's filibuster. And there's always that little voice in the back of your head that says, all right, what would make me feel really stupid later? And it'd be listening to all that and then picking Arkansas. So, my man, by just giving you the mic and letting you talk me out of it, I'll take the Gators. But that all kidding aside, I mean, how many years in a row have they started 0-2, 0-3 in the conference? All hope was lost, and then they get it together. Now, I think some of those past teams were I don't know if health's the issue. I mean, I can't think Davis is 100%. You just got to wonder about Adu. He's so far off what he's done in the past. And so I don't know if that, they find the healing fountain in the hot springs of Arkansas somewhere and get it together. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But anyway, sorry, I've talked enough. I will yield the floor to Blake to either go with what we know he's going to do or think he's just set us up, which he's also capable of doing.
That whole setup idea was stolen by Max. I may have also been considering the idea that
it's like a giant game of paper, scissors, rock.
Sure, it's you never know what we're actually up to here, but everything I said is statistically everything I said is true, right? You may not believe some of the other things in terms of this or that, or maybe you're not as down on what you've seen here, or maybe you're not as high on Florida. It's opinionated stuff, but the stats to me tell the story. And everything statistically, just in my opinion, tells me that Florida is a top 5 offensive team in the country. I have a lot of questions about Arkansas offensively, especially when it comes to the shooting against good teams. Florida is top 5 in the country at defending the 3. So what do you think they're going to do here? What do you think the game plan is? I know what I'm doing if I'm Florida. I'm playing to my strengths, right? And I'm making Arkansas shoot as many threes as they want. And I'm letting my front court rotation do their thing, which they've done time and time again, one of the top 5 offensive rebounding teams in the country. They're going to push some people around. They're going to make it tough. They're going to block shots too, just like Arkansas will. So I'm sorry. We make our picks based on our opinion on the teams at the time, not what necessarily they're going to be a month from now or 2 months from now. And what I've seen right now tells me that even though this is that classic letdown spot, which Max said, all you need 2 words, college basketball, I can't not pick Florida here because I just feel like they've been the better basketball team through 15 games. And I just think that Arkansas has something to prove. Maybe this is the game that they prove it, but I have more confidence in Florida. Even though they're on the road here, I'm picking them.
Next up, Oklahoma going to Georgia. Oklahoma had an 18-point lead, was just dominating Texas A&M in Norman the other night. Entertaining game. Georgia stuck it to Kentucky, which is just beating a red-hot Florida team. So Georgia hosting Oklahoma, 5 o'clock Central, ESPN2. Max Barr, start us off here.
Yeah, Georgia will be about a 2-possession favorite. Pretty much a pick 'em on a neutral. Just give them the possessions for home court. Strength on strength. Another really, really cool matchup. Oklahoma's offense is far better than their defense. Oklahoma's defense is actually quite drawing a little bit of a gap between the rest of the league. They're falling back to 100th in defensive efficiency. The offense, not so much though. 21st in the nation, going against the 20th defense in Georgia. So you've got Oklahoma's offense going against the strength of Georgia, which is their physical, lengthy, athletic defense. And then Georgia's offense has been a little bit hit or miss. complete no-show in the opener, 51 points at Ole Miss, and you turn around and score 82. So which version of the Georgia offense you're going to get, we shall see. They should have a little bit of an easier path given the Oklahoma lack of rim resistance, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those games where you look at it from Georgia's standpoint, look what they just did at home. And now it's like for Oklahoma, they're kind of in that similar spot, right? They're 0-2 in this one, and they hit the road to play a team that's got a lot of confidence right now. So, I mean, I think like you said, Max, just statistically, you look at some of these things, and we've seen Georgia just kind of, with their defense, be able to control some of these games the way that they need them to win, because they're not one of the top offensive teams in the SEC right now. And I would think that that's kind of how this game plays out, in my opinion. Like, I think it's that same sort of style for Georgia to try to win this one. And meanwhile, I think there is something to the mental aspect of how does Oklahoma respond from a game where they're in a great position to beat a top 10 team, and then you just kind of let it slip away. So now you got to go on the road and play a tough game here.
Yeah, there's some things that really tilt to Georgia in this one. I'm looking at particularly, where did it go? Offensive rebounding. Georgia 8th in the country, Oklahoma 323. Georgia's got a guy in Asa Newell who could be a real problem. Not well for anybody, but Oklahoma, that is decidedly what I think when we do these, we're like, all right, that's something that can give them problems. The other thing is Georgia's three-point defense, 14th in the country. Oklahoma is 37th in three-point shooting. Now, Oklahoma's got Jeremiah Fears, who's an NBA guard and going to be a headache. But you look at Georgia too. Georgia's 20th in the country, guys, in adjusted defensive efficiency. I'm sure we've talked about it at some point here, but that's kind of gone unnoticed in the beauty pageant that is SEC basketball this year. You look at defensive ratings, for some of these guys. Deshane Montgomery, an 89. R.J. Godfrey, 94. Blue Kane, 94. Tyron Lawrence, 94. Silas Dimry, 95. Those are nice defensive ratings. Not elite, but really, anytime you get in the 90s, that's pretty. Anytime you get under 90, that's pretty elite. And they got some guys that are pushing that. So I'm guessing they'll probably pass around the defensive assignments on Fears, and I think Newell's going to be a problem for them to deal with.
Since that neutral court loss to Marquette on November 23rd, in that game, Marquette was able to shoot 40.7% from three. They went 11 of 27. Mainly because David Joplin hit 6 threes. Since that game, against St. John's goes 2 of 19. Notre Dame goes 4 of 19. GCU goes 7 of 27. Ole Miss goes 6 of 16. And then just last game, hold Kentucky to 6 of 25. Guys, they have been elite on the perimeter against a few quality perimeter teams, especially Justin, Kentucky and Ole Miss. If there's one thing that I trust Georgia to do right now, out of everything, even probably more than offensive rebounding, which is probably their best thing, it's use their size on the perimeter to make life difficult for opposing three-point shooters. I think that might play right into the Bulldogs' plan this game.
So what does that mean for picks?
Oh, boy. For picks, I am going to go not where you guys think I'm going, and I am going to go – no, I'm joking. I'm going Georgia, home team. I think they're going to rebound the ball a little bit better than most teams think they will. Oklahoma just let up 17 offensive rebounds to A&M. No shame in that, but I think we could see somewhere in the mid-teens as well for Georgia, and then just that three-point defense. I think they're going to use the size. Chris, you mentioned Jeremiah Fears. How's he going to do with someone 6'5" on him all night? He's not going to see anyone under 6'5", maybe 6'4" if they put Tyron Lawrence on him. But I think Georgia uses the size, uses the 3-point defense, hits the glass, and grinds out a tough one here.
Yeah, I think I might have left our man Blue Kane out of those defensive ratings, but he was right there in the middle around a 94 too. And that's the point. They've got a lot of those guys who they can rotate, who are big, who will get after it. I kind of challenged Georgia to a little bit of a prove it thing with Kentucky the other night. I mean, Georgia has played really well. Did beat St. John's back in November. But I kind of felt like I needed to see a little bit more before I was willing to go out on a bigger limb and pick them to be a ranked team. I saw it against Kentucky. Give me Georgia here.
Well. Georgia has never, ever beaten the Oklahoma Sooners in basketball. Ever.
How many times have they played
the Oklahoma Sooners in basketball?
That is simply not true. That is not factual. They have played them before. So I'm not sure where that came from, but it's not factual.
It was a question.
No, it wasn't. It was a statement from you.
No, it was not.
You were factually stating that they've never played before. Little did you know, you seem to not be in Honolulu, Hawaii.
You're not there either. Or maybe
That's where we're going for a cough, and I got caught in a cough there. On Christmas Day, 1987. You were not there, Chris Lee. I was, and I saw the Oklahoma Sooners get a 93-90 victory over the Georgia Bulldogs. I've never seen them play since then because they haven't. Throw all that out the window, though. I like Georgia at home in this game. I think the defense wins out. I think Oklahoma, tough bounce-back spot after that loss at home to A&M.
That begs some questions. All right.
There. I was.
Well, with you and what time machine? Let's see. We got LSU and Ole Miss.
LSU at Ole Miss.
Yeah, at the Sandy and John Black Pavilion at Ole Miss. That is a mouthful. 5 Central on the SEC Network. LSU is 0-2 in the SEC. Ole Miss is 2-0. Got a road win at Arkansas. Hey, look, Ole Miss is the obvious pick here. Did we have Ole Miss or South? I think we had LSU 16 on our power rankings this week, right? Or was it South Carolina?
I think they were 15.
It was one of the two. They've alternated. Let's cut to the chase. Why can Ole Miss is going to be expected to win this game? Give me a scenario where that's wrong.
I think it would have to be Ole Miss beating themselves, to be honest. I think maybe it is they are shooting way too many threes. Maybe, they're, Malik Dia is coming off of a huge game and maybe he settles for a long range 2 or a long 3 in some of his first shots and Dia doesn't get going the whole first half or something like that, where they kind of just take LSU lightly and come out just kind of, just kind of moseying around, and LSU then is like within 5 at half, and it's just you never pull away from them, and it's a game. But I don't know if LSU is really going to be able to impose anything on Ole Miss. They really struggle with turnovers, and this is an elite turnover forcing defense. LSU is going to have to play extremely clean. You're going to have to get to the free throw line a lot and chop this thing up and not let Ole Miss start, putting together a few threes. I really think the only way is Ole Miss just comes out kind of sleepwalking after a nice win and kind of just takes LSU lightly here.
Yeah, I mean, I think just if you're looking at it just from a strengths and weaknesses standpoint, like this is one of the worst matchups for LSU just because of the defensive, I think, approach that Ole Miss has. And yeah, like I think that's it. I mean, if they force enough turnovers, and LSU's a team already offensively that, as we said, just without Jalen Reed, it's a different kind of approach. And so I just don't love that idea. But even at the same time, right? Like look at the first 2 games for LSU. Vanderbilt scored 80, Missouri scored 83. So I think there's opportunities for Ole Miss on the offensive side too. I keep saying I think they're one of those teams that has a better profile to this point than people really give them credit for. I know they're ranked in the top 25 and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, like they played some pretty good basketball, and I think by proving they could go on the road and win a game like that at Arkansas, it's a tough spot for LSU here.
Yeah, one little note on LSU for whatever this is worth, and I don't know why this happened, but Jordan Sears played a season low in minutes. In the loss to Missouri, played 11 minutes. And Curtis Givens, they signed 3 fairly talented freshmen. He was one of them. He got a season-high 31 minutes, scored 15 points. I don't know if there's some changes to playing time rotation, all that, but we'll just note that. To me, Ole Miss, I feel like we say this about a lot. Like we say this about Georgia. We say it about Ole Miss. We say it about Vanderbilt. They've got a lot of really quality guards. And we just saw kind of what happened when LSU went up against that in Vanderbilt last Saturday. Ole Miss is at home in this one too, by the way. Now, I think the X factor, they do have Cam Carter. And I'm sorry, we don't mean to be like LSU-centric, but I think we got to find reasons for that Ole Miss isn't going to win the game, and that's the angle we're coming at with here. Cam Carter is capable of having some big games. He's a star, and LSU's not a bad team. It's just this league is crazy good. Like a lot of years, LSU would be squarely middle of the pack SEC, I think, with this roster. It's just not where we are. I've rambled. If we got any more points, let's make them. If
picks.
not, let's get into picks.
Yeah, I think the Jordan Sears thing last game was he had 4 fouls in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
But he's also been struggling with turnovers. He's got a negative assist to turnover ratio, which is not ideal heading into a game. In Oxford, I think Ole Miss I think they stick to what they do well. I think they force turnovers. They take care of the rock. They hit enough threes. And they'll play clean offense. I trust their offense a lot more here than LSU's. I think Ole Miss kind of rolls here.
Yeah, love the way they handled Georgia at home. They went up to Arkansas and took the game, got their kind of style there. I have no reason not to pick Ole Miss, and that's where I'll go.
Ole Miss points allowed in every home game this season: 51, 62, 61, 53, 68, 54, 64, 60. So,
wow.
No one's hit the 70-point mark at home against this team. If LSU doesn't do that, I think they're in trouble. Give me the Rebels.
Yep.
That's it for our picks. Again, we do have the other 3 games picked in other videos, and we'll talk about these when the night's done. So hit the subscribe button. That's free. Enable your notifications so you know when we do. And come join us. Join the chat. Ask us questions. Make fun of us, whatever. We'll just be glad you're with us.
Yep.
So we will see you on Saturday night. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, stay safe. Have a great weekend. God bless you all. You've been watching SEC basketball coverage here at Southeastern 16.